know those days when you just wake up in the morning and life is sweet? The sun's shining, the sky's blue, and you've got a fantastic day ahead of you? Well, today is one of those days for me, because today I'm going racing in a Viper with a Le Mans driver. And the car I was racing in? The Chrysler Viper GTSR. Yes, the arrival at the 1993 Detroit Motor Show of Chrysler's latest concept vehicle, the stunning-looking Viper GTS Coupe, set quite a few wheels in motion, if you pardon the pun. No more than a design study, Chrysler had no plans for the coupe to even go into production. But the interest it provoked convinced them otherwise, and within a few months of its first appearance, the vehicle was in production. By March '96, the totally gorgeous Viper GTS had arrived, a car to drool over, a car to dream about. And for the Chrysler team, a car to inspire the return to motorsport.
Yeah, Chrysler has been involved in motorsports for all of its history. We're most known in the United States for drag racing, the Hemi-powered cars, and NASCAR racing. But when you look at Le Mans, our history goes all the way back to 1931, and that was actually the last time we raced at Le Mans. Chrysler raced at Le Mans in the 20s through 1931, so it actually was 65 years where we had not been at Le Mans when we arrived with the Vipers this year.
Another thing that Chrysler is well known for is producing some pretty amazing cars, and the Viper is one of them. Did this inspire your return to motorsports?
Well, when we originally did the Viper, it was strictly a concept car, and we actually weren't even going to build the car in production. But people had such an interest in the car, and were actually demanding the car, that the executives decided, well, let's actually try to build this car. And that was maybe, I think, the start of really interesting things at Chrysler.
To join them in their return to motorsport, Chrysler have two racing partners, the North American-based Kanaska Southwind and Team Orica, a French team founded way back in 1973 that has fielded some impressive names, Prost and Alessi amongst them. The Orica team employs 48 full-time staff and is based close to the Paul Ricard circuit in southern France. Orica have competed in Formulas 1, 2 and 3, as well as rallying, desert racing, super touring cars and in global endurance racing. It's the endurance racing that the Orica team and Chrysler are aiming to drive to victory in. And it was during Orica's preparation and testing for next season's championships that I managed to hitch a ride with Philippe and Olivier, two of the team drivers, and take in a few laps of the Paul Ricard circuit in Marseille. Preparation for the season is exhausting and intensive. The two Orica Vipers are monitored over every lap. Teams of engineers analyse the Viper's performance, its engine, the tyres. Nothing is left to chance. Everything entered into a computer and analysed to produce the best possible performance from both the car and the driver. And believe me, when you see the preparation and expertise involved in getting one of the Vipers out onto the track, it's quite comforting when you know that you're about to get into one and let a man you've only just met take you to the limit in it, just so he can find out how well his Michelins hold the track. Well, here we are at the Paul Ricard circuit in Marseille, in France. And of course, one thing about France recently is the lorry drivers' strike. Now, they've been on strike for 10 days, and there is absolutely no fuel in the country. It's unbelievable. And you know this thing? It uses 2 litres of fuel for every lap that it does. What I want to know is, what are we going to do if we run out of fuel halfway around? Because I ain't getting out and pushing. And what a performance this 2-seater Grand Touring Coupe gives. The 8-litre V10 engine produces a stupendous 615 horsepower, quite comfortably powering the Viper to speeds of around 280 kilometres on the straights. Exciting? Well, what do you think? I like to think I've had a full and varied life and done my fair share of thrilling things, but nothing can prepare you for the feelings that a few laps in a racing car can give you. The adrenaline rush is astounding and addictive. The pulse races, your heart leaves your body, and you'll either love it or you'll loathe it. Which was it for me? Well, I have to say, I loved it. Well, I've got absolutely no idea what my heart rate is right at this minute, but I've got to tell you that that is the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life. And I know that life is never ever going to be quite the same again after that? Never.
It's a difficult car to drive because we are at the beginning of the car.
Of the development.
Yeah, of the development, and we have a lot of work to do, but we have a good base. Yeah, and good team, good engineers. I'm sure we'll win races very soon.
Well, there's certainly a good team and good cars, and I've got to say, some very good drivers as well. There are some good drivers. He looked after me so well, and he brought me back in one piece. Thank you very much. As a company, Chrysler has a philosophy of racing what it actually sells. And when they were developing the Racing Viper, they tried to keep it as close as possible to the original GTS. Now, Chrysler's designers and engineers work closely with the Oreca team on development, which is quite unusual for a manufacturer. By doing this, they believe they can pick up valuable knowledge and information that they can then use in production of their road cars.
For the engineering group to have such an involvement is unusual. Normally, at least in America, motorsports programs are run out of the marketing department. And in this case, it's mostly engineering. And we've got 5 engineers that are full-time on the race car program, and they're right within Team Viper, which is right within Chrysler Engineering. So it's almost a small team within a team. But we also draw on all the resources of the Viper team. So at any time, any of the people in the Viper team can, and they're always willing to help. And we also find that anywhere in the company, people are very enthusiastic. So if we need help in a certain lab to do tests or do design work for us, that everybody within the company is willing and excited to help.
So what are the differences between the Viper road version and the motorsport version?
Well, the main change, and the one that's tough to see, is the body. The body, whereas it looks very close to the GTS body, the race car is made completely out of carbon fiber, and those parts come from Reynard in England. We work with them on the body. The rest of the car was all designed and developed at Chrysler, and the chassis is basically the Viper chassis. The suspension's right off the Viper with slight modifications. The engine, the transmission, all are very recognizable as Viper parts. So the car retains a lot of Viper heritage. And we looked at every part of the car, and if the part would do the job, we would keep it. And if we thought it wasn't up to the job, then we went right to the best racing parts we could get.
The Viper's endurance racing debut was at Daytona in February '96, and it competed for the first time on British soil in September '96 in the Brands Hatch 24-hour endurance race. At the 24 Hours of Le Mans, all 4 Vipers crossed the finish line, giving a Viper its first top 10 finish. Now, these results are made far more impressive by the fact that '96 was really a development year for the Viper.
It was a very quick program from when we actually decided to race the car, and we made our debut at Daytona, and we did have some problems there. But by the time we got to Le Mans, we'd fixed all of our problems, and we finished 3 out of the 4 cars that we raced, and one of them finished in 10th place overall, which was really kind of exceeded our expectations. Our goal was really just to be able to finish the race.
Well, you've had a successful return to motorsports this year. What are you aiming for in '97?
1997 may be some changes. We're looking to drop from the GT1 class down to the GT2 class. When we originally designed the car, we were targeting it more to race against what's the Porsche GT2 evolution. And of course Porsche came out with their new GT1, which sort of obsoleted the GT2. And they moved the GT2 Porsche into the GT2 class. And we'll do the same type of thing. Philosophically, our car is quite a bit different than the Porsche GT1 and even some of the new prototypes that are coming out. So the car really fits better in GT2, and we think that we'll be able to win our class a lot more often, even though at heart we'd still like to be running at the front.
How important was it to you to keep the car as similar to the road version as possible?
Well, it was fairly important to us. There were no real directions or edicts. It all was decided through the design process. And like I said, if the part would do the job, we would keep it. And it actually surprised us how much of the car we kept and how well it did work.
Why is Chrysler involved in all this? Is it purely the publicity and, you know, the whole sort of thing that comes with motor racing? It's got a great image. Is that what it's all about?
Well, Chrysler is filled with a bunch of enthusiasts that really get excited about racing. But when we looked at racing the Viper, we looked at it a little differently. And instead of just doing it purely for marketing, we actually wanted to do a lot of the engineering. And in doing that, Chrysler would learn how to do things more quickly, how to really push the envelope of performance. And also, we think that it'll be an advantage because Chrysler has a lot of engineering expertise that can actually help make the race car better. And what we do is we combine ourselves with the race teams and try to take the best of both. And hopefully that'll be an advantage.
You have quite a hands-on approach, don't you? You are very closely involved. Is that unusual, do you think?
I think so. For the engineering group to have such an involvement is unusual. Normally, at least in America, motorsports programs are run out of the marketing department. And in this case, it's mostly engineering. And we've got 5 engineers that are full-time on the race car program, and they're right within Team Viper, which is right within Chrysler Engineering. So it's almost a small team within a team. But we also draw on all the resources of the Viper team. So at any time, any of the people in the Viper team can, and they're always willing to help. And we also find that anywhere in the company, people are very enthusiastic. So if we need help in a certain lab to do tests or do design work for us, that everybody within the company is willing and excited to help.
Well, after having been round the track today in that car, I can see why they've got that enthusiasm, because it's an absolute blast. It really is. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had. And what about you? Because you have a bit of a history as well, don't you, with motor racing yourself? Are we going to see you behind the wheel of them, do you think?
Well, I would love to jump behind the wheel, but it's real difficult to be running this program and also focus on driving. So I wouldn't want to drive the car unless I could put my full attention to it. We have found a lot of good drivers, and even though I like to drive, I found it's almost easier to hire good drivers than it is to hire somebody that could help run the program. So
you just pinch it for the odd weekend and take it off for a quick secret drive, do you?
Yeah, well, maybe I could get an assumed name and race that way. So.
If the sight of the Team Orica Viper going through its paces here on the track has filled your head with childhood dreams of becoming a racing driver, then it's not that impossible to turn those dreams into reality. If your numbers come up on next week's lottery, for around £200,000 you can order one of these from Chrysler and race it yourself at Le Mans. The one problem there, however, is you can't take it out on the open road. But this one you can. For £62,000, you can order this, the Chrysler GTS, all 10 cylinders of it. Yes, it's crossed the Atlantic and it's on sale now in the UK. The Viper GTS may have started life as a design study, but it's now very much a reality. This is one serious car that you won't forget in a hurry. The sight of one Viper is amazing, but 2 side by side make an awesome sight, with the GTS road car capable of giving the racing version a run for its money in the performance stakes. It has an 8-litre V10 engine. It's capable of 450 horsepower and has a top speed pushing 180 miles an hour. In a world full of restrained, classy cars, the Viper stands out like a stripper at a garden party. On paper, everything about the Viper is wrong. It's too big, it's too fast, it's too powerful, too hard to see out of. It's even too hard to get into. But when you see it, none of it actually matters because it's just too gorgeous for words. As you can see, this isn't a car that comes with any frills. You get electric windows, airbags and a stereo, and that's really your lot. It's simplistic, stylish, and it has a really raw feel about it. And to be honest, that's the whole point of the Viper. You see, this is one car that doesn't have to try too hard. The thing is, it's got you absolutely hooked before you even get inside it. As you can imagine, the responsibility you feel when you're handed the keys to one of these for the afternoon is great. Putting the new Mondeo through its paces is one thing, but with Chrysler's Viper, it's a totally different ballgame. You don't so much drive a Viper as coax it into action and marvel at the amount of power that this engine's great torque can create. 0 to 60 in around 4.5 seconds. Although the steering on it feels fantastic and those enormous Michelins give tremendous grip, the gearbox can be quite tricky. The 6 speeds are very close together and you do need to work quite hard at it. The thing about the Viper is that there's almost a battle for control going on. What it really needs is 2 firm hands and a tremendous amount of respect. In turning the Roadster into the coupe, Chrysler have done far more than simply welded on a roof. Few of the body panels from the RT10 have made it onto the coupe. It's also significantly lighter. The target was to shed 30 kilos. They got rid of 36. The handling is now far less twitchy than the Roadster. Steering is more poised, and you need to be travelling at some alarmingly fast speeds to produce any style of tail wag. The Viper is actually far easier to drive than you would imagine. But beware of those non-ABS brakes. Hit them heavily and the Viper lives up to its name, flicking its tail end ferociously. It's capable of reaching colossal speeds on high roads, but if you hit a damp patch on a nasty bend in a low gear, then you'd better watch out. There's a couple of things that really take quite a bit of getting used to. One is how low down on the road you're positioned in this. You're looked down upon by absolutely everybody, from truckers to people driving Fiestas. The other thing is how often you're looked at. You try pulling up at a petrol station or a shop, just driving past a group of people in one of these, and they just stop and go. It's absolutely wonderful. For the first year of its production, the Viper will only come in one colour, azure blue, gift-wrapped from head to toe by 2 sleek white stripes. They're to remind us that the Viper's inspiration was the Shelby Cobra Daytona, the World GT Championship winner of the 1960s. Everything about the Viper has a purpose. Even the coolest brake light in the world, which is there to remind us it's a Viper. The Viper is without doubt an amazing vehicle that packs an incredible punch. And so it should at £62,000. It's the car of your dreams. But when you compare it to other supercars, you realise you actually get an incredible amount of power for your pound. If this car were a man, then I'm sorry guys, but I haven't met one of you yet who's quite as powerful, sexy or cool. Saying goodbye to it is a little bit like leaving someone that you love. It makes me want to throw caution to the wind and sell my house just so that I can own one. And one thing's for sure, after a day spent with the Vipers, driving is not going to be quite the same experience ever again.
Caravans, curse of the holiday motorist, chugging down the motorway usually 2 abreast, holding up a trail of motorists and lorry drivers alike. Well, maybe not in this case. Motoring journalist Mark Walton has teamed up with Chrysler Jeep to take on the speed record for towing a caravan. But how did this amazing record attempt come about? Brian Reese of Chrysler.
This crazy man called Mark Walton phoned us up and said, would we try and break the land speed record for towing a caravan? So we're going to have a damn good go at it. Got lovely weather for it today. And 126 miles an hour is the target. Doesn't sound that much, but it's got to be a normal caravan. Can't be any aerodynamic changes, and we can't take everything out. The caravan's got the cooker and the fridge in there still. 126 the target. We reckon we might get about 130 today with the Viper on, because it's one hell of a powerful car, and we've got good weather for it. So that's the plan.
And what sort of speed do you think you'll achieve?
Viper would normally do the best part of 180 miles an hour, but we put the caravan on the back, and it's like a big parachute and air brake on the back almost. And we'll probably get stuck at about 130 today, I should think.
So let's meet our intrepid pilot. Mark, what are the major things you'll need to keep an eye on during the run?
The main thing is just basically no really strong crosswinds, because obviously we don't want the caravan sliding around. And not having any rain is another advantage, obviously. And there's actually a balloon floating around over there, which is giving us a lot of confidence as well, because balloons don't usually go from windy weather either, so it's looking good.
So with the onboard radar transmitter set up, Mark heads out for the first run. Although not allowed to make major modifications to the car in the rules, the team will even try a new air filter in search of extra speed.
Well, it gets up to about 115, just like that. Yeah. Dead easy, no problem. And then all of a sudden it's counting the miles. And then 116, 117. You stop thinking.
Go on.
So drastic action is called for. Believing that heat build-up under the bonnet could be a source of some lost performance, the team try a few runs with the bonnet slightly open.
The record currently stands at 126.77, so we need 0.8, so we need 0.1 of a mile an hour faster. I mean, I think we're so close now, absolutely every millimetre of difference could get us 0.1.
The team sets out for one last run. If they don't succeed this time, they'll call the whole attempt off.
That actually felt like the best run. At the end, I just glanced down at the rev counter, and normally it's just about 5,100 RPM. And that time, I just glanced down and I thought, blimey, that's about 5,200, 5,300, and it's just a tiny, tiny fraction. And the engine note was just ever so slightly higher. And I thought, well, if that's not it, then that's it. There we go. 1 mile an hour over.
So congratulations to the team. They've just proven how fast a caravan could go. Now they've just got to work out which way to the M5.
Leisure time, or leisure to quote our American friends, how you choose to escape the daily hustle and bustle. As we get ever busier, it gets more important. And as we get ever busier, it becomes more important to find a way to relax, to chill out, to stand somewhere nice on a sunny day, just to take it easy, really. And the busier your job, the more you need to relax in your time off. Or do you? Justin, just back from Le Mans, fantastic result for you. Good time had. Are you relaxing now?
Actually, yeah, believe it or not, standing here talking to you, it's actually been a crazy month since then. Le Mans is a very mentally and physically demanding race. But when you win something like that, you're obviously on top of the world. So since then, I have been relaxing. I mean, I haven't actually done another race. I haven't done any testing, but I've done a lot of PR activities, which can be a lot of fun. And here we are, obviously at Thruxton, and I get given a Viper to drive around and take people for a play, and that's not really a hard job, is it?
How long does it take to come down from something like that? You've put in all that effort. You finished the race as you did very well, high as a kite. How long are you still buzzing for?
Well, it was until about... I didn't come home until Tuesday morning, and then it was a wild day on Monday. It was wonderful, everyone calling and that type of stuff. I got home Tuesday morning, and guess what the first piece of mail was? It was a tax demand.